Once a year, an aviation museum in Netherlands transforms into Europe's biggest flight simulation event. I've been to Flight Sim Weekend before, so I thought I knew exactly what to expect. I was wrong. This visit took me from full-size flight simulator cockpits to a real Diamond DA-40 flying through Schiphol's controlled airspace, where we received a clearance I've never expected. And later, airport fire trucks were waiting beside our aircraft in Rotterdam. None of that was planned. But before I explain what happened in the air and why the fire service came out to meet us, you need to see the event when what started the entire story. FSWeekend brings together full-size airline cockpits, realistic flight controls, virtual reality, software developers, hardware manufacturers, and flight simulator pilots communicating with human air traffic controllers online. So this is not simply a room filled with people playing a computer game. It is a look inside a world where people recreate aviation in an incredible amount of detail. And even if you've never touched a flight simulator before, there's a lot here that may surprise you. One thing immediately separates Flight Sim Weekend from almost every other technology event is the location. The event is held inside Aviodrome, a large aviation museum filled with historic aircraft, old cockpits, engines, airline cabins, and exhibits covering different generations of flight. Instead of walking through a normal convention center, you're surrounded by real aviation history. You can step away from modern simulator and suddenly find yourself standing beside an aircraft that carried passengers decades ago. That contrast makes Aviodrome the perfect venue for Flight Sim Weekend. On one side, you have the aircraft and technology that shaped aviation. On the other, you have people using modern software and hardware to recreate parts of that experience at home. The museum would already be worth visiting on its own, but during Flight Sim Weekend, it becomes part of the show itself. This is part 2 of my Flight Sim Weekend coverage. I spent all 3 days at WINCTRL booth as a part of their Airbus crew, so part 1 is dedicated entirely what was inside of that booth, the hardware they brought, and announcements from the team. I'm not going to repeat that full booth tour here. So, after this video, watch part 1 if you want a complete look at WINCTRL's Flight Sim Weekend setup and everything we were demonstrating there. This part focuses a lot on the rest of the event, so there was a lot to cover. Microsoft Flight Simulator had one of the largest areas at the show, bringing together aircraft, scenery, hardware, and community projects built around the platform. Aerosoft was also there, and one of the pieces that stood out was its new Boeing 737 overhead panel. That is the advantage of seeing this equipment in person. A panel can look impressive online, but at an event, you can judge the actual scale, layout, controls, and build much more clearly. MOZA showed just how quickly its flight simulator ecosystem has expanded. The booth included MCP and EFIS style setup, G1000 hardware, a yoke with integrated display, and a motion configuration that visitors could try. Instead of presenting one isolated control, MOZA was showing how several pieces could work together as a large setup. Navigraph represented the planning and navigation side of the hobby, with the charts, navigation data, and tools many simulator pilots use to plan and operate realistic flights. Skalarki was at the advanced end of cockpit building, with both A320 and A330 simulator setups. And when you see those panels installed together, you understand how far a serious home cockpit can go. It stops looking like a desk with accessories and starts looking like an actual flight deck. Virtual Fly was especially important to me because I am one of their ambassadors. They were celebrating 15 years and I had the chance to try the new yoke together with their new G1000 setup. The yoke is the kind of product that has to be experienced physically. The movement, resistance, size, and overall feel cannot be judged properly from a photograph. Dreamscape was showcasing its VR headset, giving visitors a chance to experience a cockpit in virtual reality without needing to build a complete physical simulator around them. There were also smaller products and more compact builds, including Motozolo's mini Airbus hardware. And some of the most interesting displays were the DIY simulators. Those builds are a reminder that a flight simulation is not only driven by large companies. A huge part of the hobby comes from individuals who design panels, wire switches, build structures, and spend years turning ideas into a working cockpit. That range is what makes FS Weekend so interesting. One booth may have a compact controller that fits on a normal desk. A few steps later, you may be standing inside a complete airliner cockpit. Now, some visitors come looking at one exact product. Others walk in without a plan and discover equipment that they did not even know existed. And unlike watching a product video online, here you can sit down, try the controls, ask questions, and compare completely different setups only a few steps apart. At that point, I thought the exhibition would be the highlight of the trip. But the most memorable part had actually happened before FSWeekend even opened. My friend Ruslan invited me to join him and his flight instructor Zayad for a flight in a Diamond DA40. Zayad is an instructor with Rotterdam Flying Club, which is the oldest flight school in Rotterdam. And I wanted to give a huge thank you to both of them. And because Zayad handled the radio communications and local procedures, I was able to take the controls and actually fly the aircraft. I already knew the DA40 well from flying it in Canada, but flying one in Netherlands was a completely different experience. The airspace was unfamiliar, the procedures were different, and our route from Lelystad towards Rotterdam gave us the possibility of entering the control airspace around Amsterdam Airport Schiphol. Now, Schiphol is one of Europe's major international airports with several runways and constant airline traffic. A small general aviation aircraft cannot simply enter that airspace whenever it wants. We needed permission from the air traffic control, and there was no guarantee we would receive it. After departing Lelystad, we began making our way towards Amsterdam. As we approached Schiphol, he contacted the air traffic control and requested permission to enter the control zone. Now, there was no guarantee we would be allowed inside. Schiphol is one of Europe's busiest airports, and a small general aviation aircraft has to fit around the constant airline traffic. But instead of being routed around the airport, we were cleared into the control zone. And first, ATC cleared us for a low and over approach on runway 04.
Schiphol Tower, Papa Romeo Alpha Bravo, request.
Papa Romeo Alpha Bravo, go ahead.
Papa Romeo Alpha Bravo, 2 minutes northeast of Victor, request Victor arrival for a low pass runway 04 if possible.
Papa Hotel Romeo Alpha Bravo, that's approved. QNH 1025, clear Victor arrival, squawk 0060.
That meant flying directly over the runway without landing, inside the controlled airspace on one of Europe's largest airports.
Take a moment to enjoy also, huh?
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And we're not landing, huh? So just put the power at something like 50%.
50%?
Yeah, 50%. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the slow flights.
Yeah.
16.
60. Yeah. Perfect. We have flaps landing, sorry. Yeah, you can go to 70.
70, yeah.
And just when I thought that that would be the highlight of the flight, the controller gave us something even better.
Safe altitude.
Alpha Bravo.
Go ahead, Bravo.
There's no traffic runway, just traffic runway 06 short final thereafter. There's no traffic anymore, so if you're interested you can orbit the tower later on.
We are very interested, Bravo.
Bravo, Roger, proceed Bravo, then inbound Alsmeer Watertol first.
Proceed Bravo initially, Bravo.
Wow, no way. Wow, I'm speechless. This is awesome.
Yeah, just make sure to get the tower, huh? You want to
Oh, yeah.
back,
Oh, yeah.
This is huge airport. Wow. That's the first orbit, and we have another one. That's not even done yet, the first one.
Yes. Amazing.
Tower. Amazing.
Are you making another one or finished?
If another one if possible, Bravo.
Watch another one and then to the west when that's completed, south of the Matrix Club.
Another one and thereafter to the west, Bravo.
Yeah, Papa Bravo, to be sure to the west, south of the Matrix Club, free departing, that's on the other side.
South of runway 36 left, Bravo.
That clearance gave us an incredible view of Schiphol in 2 complete orbits around the control tower. With Zayat managing the radio communication, I could focus on flying the aircraft and taking in an experience I never expected to have in the Netherlands. Only a short time later, we continued towards Rotterdam. At that point, the flight had already become one of the highlights of the entire trip, but the part involving the airport fire trucks was still ahead of us. Our next stop was Rotterdam. We landed normally in Rotterdam, cleared the runway, and continued to the parking area. And by the time we parked, one of the tires was flat. That is why the airport fire service came out to the aircraft. There was no fire, no emergency landing. They were there as a precaution while the aircraft remained safely parked. And we were extremely lucky. The problem became apparent there, after we had already cleared the active runway. And had it happened during touchdown or landing rollout, the result could have been much more serious, and we might have ended up disabled on the runway. So instead, we were parked safely and clear of traffic. It was still a very unusual ending to a flight that had already given us far more than we expected. We began the day hoping we might receive permission to enter Schiphol airspace. And we finished it after an unexpected tower clearance, a landing in Rotterdam, a flat tire, and a visit from the airport fire service. This trip combined two sides of aviation that I care deeply about: the technology and community inside Flight Sim Weekend, and the opportunity to fly the real DA40 through Dutch airspace. So, is FS Weekend worth visiting? Absolutely. Where else can you walk past a real historic aircraft, step inside a full-size airline simulator, try the latest flight controls, experience a cockpit through virtual reality, and speak directly with people building the hobby, all inside the same museum? Even if you have never used a flight simulator, Flight Sim Weekend makes it easy to understand why this world attracts so many people. I had attended before and I thought I knew what to expect. This visit proved that the event could still surprise me. And remember, this is the part 2 of the coverage. If you want to see everything inside WINCTRL booth, where I spent all 3 days as part of the Airbus crew, watch part 1 next. And let me know in the comments what you enjoyed best: the simulators, the museum, or the real flight around Schiphol. Subscribe for more flight simulation, aviation events, and real-world flying. And as always, fly smart, fly safe, and keep chasing the horizons.